Join Bev Lazar, spiritual mentor, Reiki master, psychic medium, with Shelly Greenlaw, doula, yogi, and intuitive energy healer. Two sisters walking the path of spirit to share their experience and advice in all things energy, intuition, and beyond. The Empath Sisters.
Welcome back to another episode of Empath Sisters. You're hanging out with Shelly and Bev.
Hi.
And we are just kind of, I don't know, we're in a different kind of, I don't even want to call it a mindset, but like, just feels like we just want to do something different.
Maybe it's a phase. It's a feeling. It's a thought. Not
Yeah.
sure. We're just exploring.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just going to explore this and you're going to come along with us. And we hope that you like it. Just kind of like, I feel like Shelly and I are being pulled in a direction of just making some changes within how we're hanging out here on the podcast. So we are really excited. We're happy that you're all here to join us. And Shelly and I are going to have a conversation actually about the other side and heaven. And kind of like our perspectives, our thoughts, our feelings on it, maybe also some of our experiences that we've also had with the other side, knowledge, information, all that good stuff. So
we're excited.
We are excited. I want to say for myself personally, I feel like if I go back in time to when I was young, I feel like I have this knowing that I always understood the other side. Yeah. And I think I had that understanding knowing only because I feel like not only because, but I feel like maybe partially because we saw spirits.
Right.
And so seeing spirits, it's like, oh, as we're talking about them, it's like, did you see that person? Right. But it's like, nobody else sees these people. So they're like ghosts, when we were little. So it's like ghosts are dead people, really, essentially, is what they called ghosts, right? So that's how we knew they were dead, not here, but they're here.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny that you say ghosts because that's what we like you said, like we grew up like hearing the word ghosts. And like now we don't use that word.
Never.
No.
Like I think I probably said ghost like years ago, like around Halloween or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But spirit, it's definitely shifted to spirit on this journey. Like after Dad had passed away and had started working in this, I wouldn't say line of work, but in this realm, it definitely has shifted to spirit. Actually, I'd have to say at the beginning of my journey, I called it like angels, spirit guides. Like I was labeling everything I was communicating with, but now I'm done. It's everything is spirit.
Yeah.
I call everything spirit.
Yeah.
I know who's talking to me because of the different energies, just as if I were talking to you or 5 other people, they're all going to feel different. But I know your energy. I know my brother's energy. So again, you just kind of get familiar with those energies, which now I just don't tell people like, oh, my angel says this and my guide says this. I'm just, it's spirit. Everything's spirit. Personally, even if it's a loved one, I just say spirit.
Well, and I personally feel that like even what I just said earlier was that like, people would say ghosts, right?
Yeah.
However, I really feel like, I don't know about you, Bev, but I do feel like we have always kind of, even though we knew them as ghosts, I don't think that we as children, like you, me, and Keith, we didn't really like, we would say it, but I feel like we kind of already knew that they weren't called that. Like we already knew that they were spirits. So it's not that we didn't want to call them spirits at that time. I think we just were growing up in that, stigma with everybody saying the word ghost, right? And so I think, when we got older and as we evolved more into this realm work, whatever you want it, or
Yeah.
more spirituality, whatever.
Yeah.
We've just always known, like, we never used that word anymore. Like, we always used spirit. Like,
Yeah.
even when we had our experiences, you know,
Mhm.
growing up, we would say, well, we had the spirit, or we had the, you know, we never said ghost.
No.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it's just something that we've, like you said, it was a knowing. It was just something that we knew about. We knew that it was
Totally.
not ghost, right? So,
Yeah. And I feel like even as we like talked about, I remember, I know I said this to a couple clients too, where it's like, it was just natural. You just saw
yeah,
these dead people everywhere. And, you know, for me, never having like lost anybody
right.
that I knew, I didn't want to talk to these people because I was like, I don't know who you are. They're strangers to me,
Yeah.
you know? And so at that time, I would just remember saying, like, as I was growing up, if I, you know, we were kind of like in a controlling household. So like we
Yes.
didn't get to do a whole lot. And so I always said, you know, if I got the opportunity to have a sleepover, I clearly remember saying to my girlfriend, like sleeping over at her house and then being like, do you have a little girl that comes down your hallway and you can walk right through her? You know? And it's like, um, no. And I said, and then oftentimes you don't get invited back to their house or for a sleepover. And then I kind of learned from there, oh, maybe we don't really talk about this stuff. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of evolved that, like, you know, the three of us just,
Yeah.
we talked about it.
We talked about it. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I feel even being like, you know, us being raised Jehovah's Witness, I always have felt, I feel like I was really, that was all like blocked out to me. I don't remember hearing anything. I don't remember other than like the odd things of like, I thought it was super odd that we weren't allowed to celebrate holidays. And I was
Yeah,
thinking in my mind, how is that devil's work
I know.
to have Christmas and spend time with my family? Because that's all I knew the holidays to be, was to spend time with our family. So I just thought, that's devil's work. That's weird.
Yeah.
To me, as a young 5-year-old thinking that,
Mhm.
that's not normal. Like, that's not
Well,
right. It wasn't right. And like,
yeah.
you know, so it's like, I already had these knowings and
Mhm.
awareness and just,
Yeah.
you know, my experiences and angels and spirits, well, ghosts at that time. But,
Yeah.
you know, as you talked about it, I think nobody else really understood that and they called them ghosts.
Right.
And I feel like
Well,
it's,
and
I,
Hollywood, right?
well,
Hollywood
for sure.
classified them as ghosts, right? And
Totally.
so what else
And
are we going to know other than that, unless, you know, we were
well,
taught,
who is
you
going to
know,
educate
yeah,
us?
yeah, exactly.
You children are seeing spirits, you know, that never happened. It was like,
No.
no, don't talk about it. Those are ghosts. There's
Mhm.
something wrong with you. You're
Yeah.
freaks, you know,
Yeah.
right? It was always negative.
Right.
However, now looking at it, I feel like it's just what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like it's rude to call spirits ghosts.
I agree.
I feel like it's disrespectful, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because
I'm sorry,
I
I'm not meaning to laugh, but I literally, like, when we started talking about it, I was
Mhm.
thinking in my head, like, I cringe. Like, I
Yeah,
cringe when someone says, "Oh, I saw a ghost."
I
And I'll
know.
be like,
I'm like, it's not a ghost.
"Oh," I know. So I agree with you. I just cringe when somebody says ghost. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's wrong.
No,
You can
I'm not
call
saying that
that.
either.
Yeah.
You call
So
it whatever
just
you
you can
want.
call whatever you want. But I'm just saying, for me, when I hear someone say ghost, I cringe because I agree with Bev. I think it's a little bit disrespectful. I think that they are spirits as well,
Yeah,
because they were a human being. They were a person. They aren't,
totally.
you know, like, their souls. And I just feel like
Mhm.
ghost as the word is not where they have a soul. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, ghost just sounds like, ooh, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and your loved ones don't want to do that to you. They're not like, ooh, and they're
Yeah.
here to like scare you. You know, they're like, ah, you know, like they
Right.
want to show up and then
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah.
Where I find ghosts, the energy or the belief behind that or whatever has been built, I feel like it's just so negative, of like they're haunting you. It's
Yes.
evil, it's negative, it's low vibrational, it's scary, and it's just
Mhm.
it's not. And I definitely, this is why I love educating people, because they don't want you to be afraid. I want you to know more about the other side, or spirits,
Right.
or, because when I say spirit is like a soul, they
Right.
were a soul. That's what it is.
Mhm.
They're appearing as they're in their soul form, but
Right.
we can just see them that
Right.
way without the
Yeah.
physical body. But they still look like a physical person, how they show up,
Right.
but more
Well,
see-through.
yeah, I was just gonna say, but I think that's, and maybe we're going a little way out
Yeah.
there, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah, well,
and
we
I
do
really
that.
feel, yeah, but I really feel the reason why they do that is because
Mhm.
they don't want to be showing up in some different type of form, right? So they
Yeah.
want to be showing us what they were to us.
Who they are
Right.
or were.
Exactly. Exactly. And
And I
that
also
is why.
feel like I could go down that rabbit hole, where we
Yeah.
could, if you really want, but we don't have
Hmm.
to. But I'll throw it out there. Is that I also feel like there's just been so much sometimes in different areas in our world, that they don't want you to be open to that.
Right.
They don't want you to be exposed or open to it, or
Hmm.
play in that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I feel like sometimes it's just had that negative attachment to it as well, of like, we, so they make it like it's ghosts, so that
Yeah.
you have a fear,
Right.
to not want to be open to that.
Hmm.
And I know, based off of some of the people that I have worked with that have had those experiences as a child, even, all the parents knew to say was like, those are ghosts,
Right.
and that's like, no, and
Yeah.
it can be scary.
Of
Um,
course. It
but
was
at this,
scary to us when we were
mm,
told it was a ghost, right? And
well,
so,
to
you
me,
know,
at the same time, even though I would have to say, I don't know if I ever felt scared, to be honest. I
hmm.
actually remember thinking it was really cool. Like, I remember uh the having that cowboy in our living room.
Hmm.
And I remember telling dad, like, I saw a cowboy in the living room, and he had this like holster and everything. And I just remember dad being like, no, like,
Yeah.
don't you dare talk about this. And I
Yeah.
was just thinking, like, why? Like,
Yeah.
he was pretty cool, like, it
Yeah.
was pretty amazing to see somebody from like a cowboy era, like, walking through my living room. I just thought that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I've ever been afraid of ghosts, even having the girl in our place,
Yeah.
even playing with our dresser
Yes.
handles,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, none of that really freaked me out. I think because we knew
Yeah.
who they were or what it was, that it wasn't so scary. There's other
Yeah.
things we have experienced that
Yeah.
I
I
would
was going to
say
say,
would be
uh,
more scary.
yeah,
But when it was a spirit, it's
no,
like
never
person,
was scared of
I've
them.
never been afraid of them.
No, no.
So it's so interesting. And so anyway, so yeah, so I feel like from a very young age,
Yeah.
this has always been a knowing, and then
Yeah.
it's just kind of evolved as, after dad passed, and then it was just like this was happening, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know what mediumship was. I didn't know people actually want to talk to people who passed away,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and then realizing that this was an ability and a gift that I had, that people
Right.
would want to access somebody like me
Hmm.
to connect with a loved one.
Yeah.
And so now I find in my, practice, of all the readings that I've done with mediumship with their loved ones, that's why I just feel like it's disrespectful. It's just because it's been such an honor to connect with these souls,
Yeah.
who have been here and have had life, and their loved ones are there. And it's like such a beautiful reunion. And it's just like,
Hmm.
yeah. So, and it's just nothing of the negative.
Right.
So that's why I just call everything spirit. And
Yeah.
angels aren't negative and have a low vibration, all these things. So it's always been spirit now. I
Yeah.
want to say for at least the last, 15 years.
Oh, I feel
For
for
sure.
me, it's been longer just because,
Mhm.
like, unlike you, I have experienced death. Like, I have
Yeah.
seen people die and been to funerals and stuff like that. And I agree with you. Like, yes, like when it was a spirit that we not necessarily knew, but like
Mhm.
knew that they were human at one time.
Mhm.
Let's just say that. human soul.
Here. Yeah.
It wasn't really that like I was afraid, but like you said, we've had experiences that were definitely not,
Of spirit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so those have been scary. And I do remember being scared as a kid, but like at the same time, when you're having these experiences as a child, and then you have a parent who is telling you there is no such thing, but they're bad. And there's, what I mean? Like putting in that fear, you're going to have fear. And so,
and then you just attract. This is what I also teach
then
people.
you attract these things.
I'm like, fear is a low vibrational energy, and it's just the lowest we can have here. And when you're sitting in that place, you're just open and susceptible to attracting that type of stuff to you. So, and it's not that there's bad souls,
No.
there's tricksters and that sort of thing, but I've never encountered a bad, like evil, scary soul.
Right. Like
those scary things are not of that.
Right. And like to me, even though we're here to have a human experience, and maybe that human is experiencing to do things that are bad on earth.
Yeah.
However, their soul and everything is not bad. They're just doing bad things. It doesn't mean that they are bad. Right. So, nobody is bad.
It's their humanly experience.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's why I try to educate people of like, that's not what's scary.
Right.
Like spirits, or if you call them ghosts, aren't scary.
Right.
They really aren't. But it might be scary to you if you don't understand, or you don't know. That can be very scary. Or you've had encounters where they're like reaching out to you and they're like, oh my gosh. And they know that you can see them, and they're so excited, and they might harass you and bug you, because I call spirits opportunists. When they have an opportunity, they will utilize it. And so that can be scary when you're not open to it, or maybe you've never had that experience, and then all of a sudden it's happening.
Yeah.
For sure. I understand why you're going to be a little bit hesitant to opening yourself up to that. But yeah, I just kind of, I feel like I just felt like I wanted to separate them, of like, there's these things, but there is low and high vibrational energies, which I know we've talked about before in other podcasts. And low vibrational energy is just, again, going back to that, is the spirits who haven't crossed over.
Right.
So it doesn't mean that they're bad and they're evil and they're scary. They're just, there's a reason why they're still here, many different reasons why. And they just haven't crossed over, but they do need energy. And so they do hang around us more for that.
Yeah.
Because they need more energy in order to stay as close to the physical world as possible. So, so yeah, then there's the high vibrational, which is the ones that have crossed over. And then they're like just coming in and out, visiting, giving signs, that sort of thing. But the low vibrational isn't, I've had many low vibrational energies around, and I used to, as Shelly knows, bring them home all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you brought another one home. I'm like, damn it. And I'd just be like, okay. And this is how I learned, like, no more. I remember leaving places and being like, you stay here. You cannot follow me home. You cannot come with me. And then I started doing that, and then didn't have that. But the low vibrational energies that I've had in my home around me have never been like scary, but they've been a nuisance for sure.
Okay, well, I kind of disagree. You've had a couple that were scary.
That would like show up, but they didn't like.
I know, but they didn't
around.
Like. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, like the things that
I've had encounters.
Doing.
But I'm talking about ones that like hang around. Like those ones aren't scary.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm saying these other things that I've encountered are of something else.
Right. Yeah.
So
and that's what I'm talking about.
Those from the low ones. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you have brought, you have brought both Both kinds.
I have encountered many kinds.
Yes.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. And but what I've learned is the reason to have those experiences is to work on my boundary. What
Right.
is it
Exactly.
that I want around me? What do I want to work with? What don't I want to work with? That sort of
Mhm.
thing. And also as a teacher, I have these experiences so I can educate others.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe you
Totally.
Yeah. And I always say, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. So,
And you will know it.
and then you'll know it. And then you'll get to make a decision of like, hey, I
Yep.
didn't like that so much. And maybe I don't want that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And they're very good at reminding you too when you like people like me who slip. And then I go, oh yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. I don't want that again.
Yeah.
And then it's back to
It
the,
takes a few
hey,
times.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure. And I've been there too. Like I said,
yeah,
I've had many spirits I brought home
yeah.
and then got to the point of like, you know what? I don't like that anymore. So then
Right.
I remember leaving. I remember turning around at the fence before I left the property and I was like, you stay here. Don't come with me. And I did that many times.
Yeah.
And then I also have had spirits that have just been stuck in homes.
Mhm.
And I have also had those ones that unfortunately have found their way to attach to come home with me without me saying,
Yes.
hey, catching them and being like, no, you're not coming.
Yeah.
And then it's just a little bit of work to get rid of them, which is
Mhm.
fine. It's not a big deal, but sometimes it takes, I always call it like an intervention. Sometimes it's just you're willing and you're just like, come on,
Right.
why are you hanging out here? Go with your family.
Yeah. Well, that's just it,
better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Because
But
it is better, I want to say, on the other side. Our, our world here, our human experiences, all that stuff. This is a hard place.
Yeah.
There's amazing things we're going to experience both sides of everything here, right?
Yeah.
And but it is really beautiful on the other side. And the other side, I want to say, is just literally like right here. And I don't know if that, I don't know if people would be like, well, I don't understand. What do you mean? What I mean is, if we imagine that there's just this, Shelly and I are looking at each other
Mhm.
and say there's a thin curtain
Yep.
between her and I just move the
You know
curtain, I
that
can see
person's
her.
over there. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it's like for us, is just, I can move the curtain and I can see those things. And I have that ability to do so, where some don't want us to be on the curtain.
Right.
And some have had some peaks and are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or, wow, that was really cool. And, how can that happen again? So,
Mhm.
yeah, it's the other side is just like here. It's almost like, I want to say, like a mirror of what we have going on here. It's like they have homes, they are doing things, they are learning, they're assisting, they're busy. Typically, I know our dad is usually like, what do you want? Anytime I want him to come through, if I can ask him to come through, like if I'm going for a reading, I'm like, will you come? That would be so awesome. But somebody's like, what? Like he's
Yeah.
annoyed. He's just like, what do you want me for? So
Mhm.
I typically don't ask anymore. I'm just like, if he shows, he
Yeah.
shows, whatever. But yeah, it's really that close.
Yeah.
They are that close.
They are. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
here, you blink and you're there. I think you could almost say that, Shelly, when you had your experience.
Yeah.
When you
It
were,
definitely is. And
it's like you
yeah,
blink.
I do the like, it's funny because you use the analogy of the curtain, because I do this. It's no different than having a spirit near you. They are around you all the time. And like what Bev said, like her and I are literally, looking at each other. Yes. But it's like what I would like to say is that, so for example, like I'm podcasting with Bev right now and my husband's in another room. I know he's over there, right? And he knows I'm over here. We can't see each other, but we know each other are like in these rooms. And
Totally.
it's totally like that with spirits, on the other side. They are around us and people freak out because they're like, oh my God, they're watching us when we go to the bathroom or they do
Yeah, they're
this.
not.
No, they're not doing that.
They are not doing that.
They don't want to know what you're doing, and don't
Well, they
need to
know
know
you're
what you're.
doing your worldly thing. Like they
Yes.
know they don't need to be with you and attached to you every second of every day and watching you go to
No.
the bathroom and having a shower and all those
Yeah,
things. Yes.
exactly. You know,
Yes.
so it's not that they're like with you 24/7. It's
Yeah.
just the analogy that we're trying to get across is that they are around you. Okay. And it's
Mhm.
literally like
Right there.
right there. Okay. So,
And even if you wanted to talk to your husband, you could still talk to him through that wall or through the
exactly.
door, right?
Exactly.
Hey, honey, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
and you could still communicate.
exactly.
And
Whether he hears you or not, like mine,
yeah, they do hear us.
they do.
I think it's
I
selective
call it
hearing
selective
here.
hearing. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But
I wonder if spirits have selective hearing.
I
Maybe they're
wonder.
just like, ignore you. Like, Dad, don't want to come.
Yeah.
I'll just pretend you didn't call me.
Well, and that,
You
I
didn't
want to ask
ask.
you, I want to ask you a question about that because
Yeah.
you know how we don't, demand or request a spirit to come forward, right? When,
Definitely don't do that
well,
ever.
and that's what I
I
want to
have to
talk about.
say.
I want to say, like, because people are going to be listening
Yeah.
and they're going to be like, well, I really want to listen, or I want to talk to my mom today, or
Mhm.
my dad today, or my uncle, whatever, right? Your loved one.
Yeah.
You and I both know we can't do that. We cannot demand and we cannot ask for that spirit on the other side to come forward. We
You
cannot do
can
that.
you can
Well,
invite them, but that's about it. You
yes,
can
but
invite. It's no different than inviting anybody into your space, inviting someone to come to your house. They have free will, so you can just say, "Hey, Dad,
right.
if you're free and you want to come and visit me, I'd totally be open to that. I'd love to see you." But and that's it.
I can understand that. However, I just feel like we can't guarantee that they're going to show up,
Oh, of course you can't. Everybody has
right?
free
Like,
will.
right.
Spirits
And
have
that's what
free
I'm
will.
saying is that I
Yeah.
don't want people thinking that they can go to see
Mhm.
a medium or well, I don't know. That's just not how I work. And I know you don't work that way.
I don't
Um,
work that way. I have
no,
had a very intense experience to teach me to not do that. And
yeah,
and that was the reasoning for that, is so that I don't work that way.
right,
And I teach that way. But it's just abiding by spiritual law, and
right.
everybody has free will. Spirits have free will, so do we. And we can impose, we can invite, no different than
Hmm.
people coming for a reading and they're inviting us into their space,
Right.
which is their sacred space. And then if they have the intention of wanting to connect with a loved one, great. And I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
I I'm not in control. If you've never had mediumship before, then I'm just going to let you know that I can't demand them to come forward. We're
Right.
just going to open the door,
Hmm.
and if whomever, even though if you have your heart set on this person coming
Yeah.
forward, they
Hmm.
might not come. There
That's
might be
right.
somebody else that takes, again, goes back to the opportunists. There's an opportunity, the door is open, whoever is on the other side, they will choose who's going to come forward. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's because you're not ready and they know that. And so they will not come through.
Right.
Or it's timing, like maybe,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe you're not ready, but at the same time, maybe it's
Maybe
whatever
it's not
needs
your
to
time to
be
hear what
just
you need to hear right now.
exactly, or
And that's what I
connect,
say.
or sometimes I know in one scenario, um, somebody really wanted a loved one to come through, but the loved one was going through a different family member all the time. And they were like, how come
Right.
this isn't
Yeah.
coming? They're not visiting me.
Hmm.
And what I learned from that is because um, it because when they're on the other side, they pretty much know all. And so what they knew was that it wasn't going to help that individual that they
Right.
love. Unfortunately. And I look at that and go, how could it not help them? Because it's so healing, I find. But that was the decision that the spirit had made, was she felt that she shouldn't come through
Hmm.
to this person because it was going to hinder her more as opposed to help her. And
Right.
that was the decision she made. That's her will. No one can
Hmm.
force her to go and visit her, you
No.
know?
Yep.
So unfortunately, it is like that. And so we just kind of put it out there. And if they
Mhm.
come, they come. But
Right.
I would love to highly tell everybody and highly make it very clear, or highly like plant this seed with everybody on this podcast that ever listens to this, is please don't ever, ever demand ever anybody that has passed on to come and see you. Don't be like, you need to this, or you should this, or any of those words. Don't. I just highly, strongly recommend you don't do that. I had a very, 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 very scary experience, and it was on a soul level, and it was the scariest thing my soul has ever experienced. Not even on a human level, and I will never do that again. Ever. Literally scared me to that depth. I've experienced scary stuff in my life, but that was on a soul level, and I can't do that.
Right. And so, like, for example, I will give an example of demanding somebody, and that was when Dad passed. I did say to Dad, like,
so did I.
I know, but he never came see.
Well, that's good. You didn't have a bad experience like I did.
Didn't have a bad experience. No, but I'm just saying, like, obviously, I do remember, like, him being like, when he passed, we were able to go to the funeral home because we didn't, like, you were with Dad, not when he passed, but like you were closer, like you were there. Like,
I wasn't there when he took his last breath, but I was around him.
You were around him.
His last days.
Right. Yes. And, Keith and I didn't make it, and we didn't go there till after the fact. However, we were able to go to the funeral home and have moments with our father. And I remember seeing his body, and of course it's just literally just a suit, but
just a vessel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird. But it's weird, even though they look like, you're like, that's my dad.
They don't look like it. They don't, though.
There's no life in it, and your dad isn't in there. It's so weird.
I know. And I know we've talked about that. But anyway, what I was going to say was that I remember showing up, and my husband was with me, because you all have to remember, when our dad died, I had just had my experience, my collapsed and my outer body experience. I was trying to think, what was that called again? Anyway,
and you had just got home.
I had just got home, from all of it, right? And so
days,
like literally days. And unfortunately, our father did pass at that time. So when we got to go there, my husband was with me, and just making sure that I was okay, because I was already still trying to figure out and process my own anxiety of just being here, being here.
Well, you just had a big experience.
I did. Yeah. And so I remember him saying to me, like, did you want to have, a few moments alone? Are you going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be okay. And so Dwayne leaves, and I'm literally standing there looking at him, and I'm just, stroking his hair, and just kind of like just trying to process that, he's laying there, like he's laying there, but he's not there. And, but I'm still like looking at him, and I'm just like really at peace, because I knew he was at peace. Like, I knew he wasn't suffering anymore.
Yeah.
But at the same
really
time,
struggled.
Like he struggled a lot. And it just made me feel like, knowing that, like, he was just not suffering anymore. And I was happy that not that I was happy, but
no, there's peace knowing that they're free.
Yes. And I remember stroking his hair, and I remember going, okay, Dad, like, I literally said, Dad, you better remember that you better be coming to see me. I want you to come to see me. I want you, like, I was demanding, I was asking, I was saying, like, I want you to come see me. All the things. And then, we said our things, and we had his celebration of life and all the stuff. And then, it took 5 years to finally get him to come through. Not that he didn't come through before. He was, in a way, of different things, but I just wasn't seeing them. But at the same time, I was also demanding. And I got to the point where I honestly gave up. I
Yeah.
gave up because I was like, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
you're just
I'm
not
done
gonna,
asking you. You're not coming. What the hell?
yeah, you're not coming. And so to come back with what Bev was saying, and like what I do say to my clients is that we don't demand, because they're going to come when they are going to come, and it's all about timing. And we
Mhm.
just don't demand because they have their own free will not to.
Yeah,
Or
they'll choose when they're coming. And I'll tell you, the more you want it, the harder it is for them to come through.
right,
That was part of my experience after
same,
my dad passed, because for me, not losing anybody until my
yeah,
dad, which is the first person, then it was like, well, what the hell? Like, I've
yeah,
seen all these people I don't want to talk to. Now my dad's gone. I want to talk to my dad. And like, where
right,
did he go? Like, what's
yeah,
he doing?
yeah,
And like, when is he going to visit me? And
yeah,
I wanted it. I didn't demand it with my mouth, like my
yeah.
words yet.
See, I
I
did.
just wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted it. I wanted it. I cried for it.
Yeah.
I pleaded in my heart for it, just like, why? Like, I missed him. It was just so
Hmm.
hard. I was
Yeah.
like, I was deep grief,
Right.
just
Yeah.
and and it took 2 years. And it's almost like that out of body experience when you have the light switch where it's like, ding, you're here and there, right?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
And that's what happened when it happened. It was
Right.
just like I wanted it, but then I was just like, whatever,
Yeah.
I'm done, right? And then until I went and saw a medium, which I didn't even know I was seeing a medium, thought it was a
Right.
psychic. Same thing, psychic medium. But anyway, I didn't know there was such thing as mediumship. Never heard of the word
Yeah.
ever. Even Sandra Brown, like we watched her stuff, right? Is that her name, right? Sandra
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
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 That psychic medium or whatever.
Mhm.
Even though she did all that, never like clued
Really?
in.
See,
Yeah, it
I've
didn't even
always
clue
known
in.
about mediumship only because, like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, we had our cousins, right? Like
Yeah.
she would always, do stuff, and I'd be like, oh my God, I was so intrigued, right? But
Yeah.
like I've always known about mediumship, so it really shocks me that you
Well, I just
didn't.
thought, like, when watching her, I thought it was just happening to her like it happened to us, right? And so she was
Mm,
just like, I'm gonna do it as a show, and oh, hey, I
right.
have this person, and I'm like, oh, but I didn't know people actually wanted that.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's
Okay.
why I was like, what? And so anyway, so then I see this reader, and then
Yeah.
dad comes through, and
Yeah.
it was like, ding. It
Yeah.
was just like, and he had said, like, I've been trying to get through to you, but like you were blocking me, like you wanted
Yeah.
it so bad. You're just creating this energetic wall
Yep.
that I couldn't get through. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, so it was almost like I had to learn to surrender.
Yeah.
It's just not something that humans can control. We
No.
try, but
Well,
you are, but with your energy. And they're of energy. And so it was just like, oh my gosh, like, and
yeah.
after that, it was just like, yeah, okay, but after I had that experience, I mean, I loved it. It was amazing. And, but I wanted more.
Of
I got
course.
greedy,
Who
right? And it
wouldn't
was just
want?
like, then I was just like, okay, now I know that this is a real thing. This happens and
Hmm.
blah, blah. Then I was like, come on, you got it. Like, and then I got really sad, and I got
Yeah.
sad again, and all this was happening. And then I did the demanding thing right before I went to bed. You better blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that was, if I had to say I ever experienced hell, that whole experience felt like hell. It was the scariest thing I can even think of, it just like right to my core. So I will, and then that's when I really started working with Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
We started our connection, and he was like, listen, let me give you a little instructions here. And then he taught me, they have free will. You're not
Yep.
going to do this. This is not what we do. This is spiritual law. Follow that. So whatever. So however other people work is how you work, and everybody's got their journey, and they're going to do their thing. And
Hmm.
I have nothing against anybody else and
Nope.
how they work. I totally understand.
Hmm.
You're all on your journey. You're going to do what you're doing because that's your gift. It's your path. It's your purpose. It's whatever. There's purpose and meaning to how everybody works.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter. For
Or
me, this is
having
how
their
I have
own.
to work. This
Well,
is how
yeah.
I've been
It's
guided
not
and
even
what I
just.
have been told, or whatever.
Yeah. I was going to say, and it's not just even just in this work, like in even
No.
any of your human experience, it's your journey,
Mhm.
whatever you're going to learn or not learn or whatever,
Believe in
right? Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
choices you make, all
Yeah.
that stuff. And
Yeah.
again, I don't have a problem with any of that. It's everybody's journey. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter. And
Right.
I just, it's just the way it is. So I
Yeah.
won't do that.
No, and
And
I stopped doing that. So that's why
yeah,
I say,
yeah,
yeah.
so what I would say is like, I just want to like, add in this conversation is that if you are asking a loved one to come and visit, if that
Mhm.
you're open to them coming to see, to come and see you, or,
Yeah.
for me now, I always just kind of throw it out there. I used to actually, when I was go for readings, I'd be like, hey dad, like if you're
Yeah.
free, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But I don't. And the only thing I kind of do now is like the odd time, if he drops in my mind, I'll be like, oh, okay, he's thinking of me. And I'll be
Hmm.
like, yeah, I haven't had a sign in a while from you.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Or
Hmm.
if I'm on a trip or something, I'd be like, oh, it'd be really cool to know if like you came on this trip with me, you know.
Hmm.
And then like I went to Mexico and had that freaking dime stuck to my skin
Yeah.
at the beach.
I
Like,
know.
right? Yes, mind blowing. So
Yeah.
again, it was like, oh my God, it's so cool, And so
Yeah.
now I appreciate and love those so much. But what I wanted to say is like, if you just put it out there, just let it happen. It
Yep.
takes a lot of energy
Hmm.
for them to create signs and to show up and
Yeah.
even to come through and visit. I know even in sessions, like sometimes I can have spirits come and hang out with me and I get 15 minutes with them, done. They're
Yeah.
gone. They leave me.
Yeah.
The one I had today was such a gift for this lady, and her sister had come through for an hour. Didn't
Oh,
even know
wow.
it. I felt like we were in that for 15 minutes. But when she left and then she had looked at the time and she went, I'm so sorry, Bev, like that was a whole hour. And I was like, that was an hour? Like, oh my gosh, like, and then for me, I was like, that is such a gift for you. I'm really happy for you because I
Yeah.
said, she obviously has banked so much energy to hold her vibration with me for
That
that
long.
long.
Yeah.
It was
It
it was
never.
inc- it was incredible. I said
Wow.
that it's never happened to me. I've never
No.
had anyone stay that long. So, so that was even more meaningful for her.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's just, again, they'll come, she
Yep.
had just said, I would love for this to happen, if it happens, yeah. And if not, that's fine. And I said, yeah, like all we can do
Yep.
is open the door and we'll
That's
just
right.
see. And so again, certain ones will come, other ones they might not at all.
Right.
And again, sometimes it's just timing. But just remember, keep in mind that they're always trying to be there to show up for you when it matters most,
Yeah.
when you need it. And sometimes they are, needing to bank up that time or that energy to be able to leave you these things. And
Hmm.
honestly, the longer they have been away from us, from Earth,
Yeah.
of being in this experience, the fainter their energy becomes.
Yeah.
So it, I find that it takes longer, I feel like, for dad to
Yes.
create something for me because it's
Well,
almost
it's
like
been,
it's farther reach. And
yeah.
so then it's like, in order for me to travel all the way, say if we were on the other side, like we're in Australia and we're trying to
Yeah.
get back to Canada, it's going to take you quite a while and a lot of energy and time to get there to like
That's right.
drop a dime and then
Yeah.
you're still back in Australia. So whereas he might have been here in Saskatchewan and then went to Manitoba and then started making
Right.
his way to Ontario, and that's kind of like in years perspective of like
How much
how much
energy.
energy.
Yeah.
So, they're always trying to do their best.
Yep.
And they also do, everything comes from love. I just have to say
Yeah.
that. So even when I go back to that example of that woman coming through and she was coming through one family member, not the other, but
Hmm.
she had chosen that that's what she felt was best for that
For
person,
that person. Yeah.
so even though she wants it so badly, she's still making that decision. And so again, we can't,
Well, yeah.
there's nothing we can do. And
No.
it's not because she is mad at her or
Oh,
anything.
no.
She's doing it purely out of love for her,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though the human really wants that.
I was just going to say, but
So
that's the human right in us,
yeah.
right? Where we really want it is no different than what I just said about me wanting dad,
Oh,
right?
for
For
sure.
so long.
Yeah.
Right. But now, like for me, I'm the same as you. Like to be honest, it's not that I forget about dad. I do
Oh,
think
of
of
course
him.
not. Yeah.
However, I don't constantly am like, I don't have that in my mind anymore of like, you need to come, you need to this, or
I
I
need
love
you,
this,
blah,
or
blah.
no.
Yeah.
And so when he does come, my
Yeah.
God, I'm always like, oh, dad came through. Like, I'm so excited.
Totally. It's so exciting. It's just like, you just feel really special. Just like,
Yeah, it is
you
special to
know,
me because then I
Mhm.
know, okay, like I know you're going to come when you need to come and you're
Totally.
just going to say hi to me or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that gives me comfort knowing that, like,
Mhm.
you know, it does give me comfort knowing that he is
Of course.
still, it's not that I didn't never knew that he wasn't around. I knew that.
Yeah.
It's just a
Totally.
different way of comfort now for
Yeah.
me. Right.
Yeah.
And so
And
I love it. So,
I
yeah.
also feel like I feel there's a part of me, even though like he's not around all the time,
Right.
and I get those signs whenever they show up.
Yes.
And those are very special to me because it's like, wow, like whatever it is, whether it's
Yeah.
I'm on a trip and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, hey, you knew I was here, or
Mhm.
you know, that you were, you know, you saw this or you were a part of
Yeah.
it, or whatever. And the times that I don't have any interaction, um, it just makes me, honestly, for myself, I just feel really happy knowing that like he knows I'm good.
Right.
And
Mhm.
so when I don't feel him around, I'm like, I'm good. Like,
Yep.
and I am okay. I am
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the place that I used to be at the beginning of my grief. And that
Right.
makes me happy. I'm like, okay, I've healed. And it's not that when we heal, we get over people. That's not what I
No.
want to say either, because I didn't get
No.
over it. I still miss him. I love
Of
him.
course.
I wish
Yeah.
he was here in the physical world and I wish things were
Mhm.
different, but that's not the way it is.
Right.
But from where I was on my journey of the grief to where I am now, I'm like, it's comforting to me to know that, yeah, like I'm in a good place.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm suffering, and that's what they don't want us to do, is to
That's
suffer
right.
in grief, honest to
Mhm.
God. So
Mhm.
for me, I'm like, that's just so nice. And then when he just shows up, I'm like, so special.
Right. I know. And
I
that's what I
love
mean.
that,
Like I
you
get
know?
excited
So
because I'm like,
yeah,
you know, he came today,
totally.
you know, or whatever it is. But like I agree. I feel very yeah, like the comfort, the blessed, whatever you want to call it, knowing that
Fortunate.
like,
Yeah, all of it.
yes, he's around, but it's not that I
And
don't
he
need
knows
him.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
he knows that. I remember having
Yeah.
a reading a few years ago. Actually, it was after when you gave up and then dad started showing up for you. Yeah. So I always had our dad come and give me signs, like after the 2 years of being in my deep grief after he passed. That was really hard for me. Um, but after that, I started having him like show up and visit and signs, and it was
Yeah.
just like boom, 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 like lots. And I know that was making Shelly sad.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, I was just like, damn, like, why don't you go visit her? And
Yeah.
but again, same thing. She wanted it, but I was having it all. He was coming to me a
Yeah.
lot.
Mhm.
And it's just like, man, okay, I'm trying not to feel bad, but I'm like so happy because I needed it.
Yeah.
But then he stopped, and then Shelly started getting signs and signs and signs, and it
Oh
was just
yeah.
literally all up in her face. And I was so happy for her. Like it was just like, oh. And then I had a reading at that time, within
Mhm.
that time frame, which after that. And she was just like, oh, your dad is here, he's showing up, but he's letting you know, like he's with your sister now because she needs him more than you do. You're good. And I was like, I am good. Like I was like, yes, and my sister does need him, like, because it was like
I
almost like
was.
you started your grieving
Well,
process,
yeah, because I
you know?
didn't grieve. I
Exactly.
didn't
So
have the time or process to do it at that time. It was really a hard
exactly.
time for me. And I knew that,
Yeah.
but at
But
the
that's
time I
how
didn't, right?
But that's how beautiful that is that,
Yeah,
again, going back to the story of that woman and the other lady, is
right.
this like dad loved all of us enough to know that I needed him now.
Yeah,
And then it was like Shelly couldn't right now. And he knew
right.
that. And out of love
Mhm.
for her, he didn't do that for her because she had enough on her plate.
Yeah.
And then when she was ready and could open herself up to starting that process, he showed up for
Mhm.
her,
Yeah,
you
he
know, and it
did.
was just like, and then I was okay. So I
Mhm.
look at it and be like, wow, like my dad was there for me in my life at some point that I really
Yeah.
needed it, because I'd have to say a lot of times in my life, my dad wasn't there for me when I
Nope.
needed him. And
Yeah.
so the fact that he showed up then and then just carried on and was there for my sister and carried on and then showed up for my brother when he was
Right.
ready too,
Yeah.
that was just like, like, thank you. Like, that is awesome. So,
Yeah.
it's beautiful,
It was.
out of
Yeah,
something
it still
so
is, but
not
yeah.
so great to
Mhm.
experience. It was really, really great.
Yeah.
So
It
I
was.
really want to talk about more about the other side, but
Yeah.
we'll have to do this again. But I feel like,
Yeah.
it's a really good conversation and a start of, our
Yeah.
experience and some good tidbits and nuggets in there of, connecting with your loved ones, or just some
Yeah.
awareness if you've never done that, or if you were scared, or
Yeah.
or just
Well,
different
we'll do
perspectives.
a
Part two.
part
Yeah,
2. Yeah, we'll do a part 2.
we'll have to. Yeah, definitely. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
So we hope you liked this conversation today with us, hanging
Mhm.
out with the Empath sisters, and with Shelly and I sharing our experiences, our views,
Yep.
and experiences. And we just really appreciate all of you being here and following
Mhm.
us and listening. And we are just sending you all love and light and gratitude wherever this may find you today. Take care,
Yes.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Until next.